Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Frank Messina, and I would like to welcome you to the May 20th, 2025 meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission. Before we start, we have a couple of notices that we have to read. Please note, this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman now. No, thank you. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28, 2025, signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extending certain provisions of COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A-20, until June 30th, 2027, this meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while it's in progress might doing so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 873-731-769#, or by joining the meeting online via Microsoft Teams to the link posted on the agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072, I tried to find it the other day, I couldn't find it, 1072, where'd they get that one?
I watch it all the time.
Well, okay. You got a problem if you watch it all the time. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. Okay. Having said that, with a little levity, first action is the roll call. Bob Lear.
Here.
Nancy Barr. Nancy is absent. Stephanie Hamilton.
Here.
Sandy Porter.
Here.
Janet Tennyson.
Here.
Robert Stevens.
Here.
Robert Wilson.
Here.
And the chair is here. Thank you very much. So we have a quorum. Robert, we have one full-time member absent, Nancy Barr, so you will be participating and be a voting member today.
Very good.
Welcome. You get an extra pay.
I'll look in the mailbox.
By the way, just started off on a note, we do have an alternate position open, a membership, which is a one-year membership. Actually, we're coming up at the point where some of our members are hopefully renewing their membership and going to stay with us. But we do have an opening on the commission, and hopefully you will consider joining the Historical Commission. Okay, the next action we have is the minutes. We have the minutes of May 6, 2025.
In the absence of the clerk, I will move adoption of the minutes.
Second.
Okay, any comments, corrections, additions?
No.
The only
Second.
comment I would make is under old business. Annie, you captured that meeting, part of the meeting very well. Thank you. So well as I think you should write the report to the zoning board of adjustment. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call.
Okay.
Bob?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
And Robert Stevens and Robert Wilson?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, thank you very much. All right, we have hopefully a relatively short meeting. We have one hearing, old business items which we have to discuss, specifically the issue of the West Chatham Housing Development, Pemrose. Some comments on the rules and regulations, the determination of availability of the Nickerson dig, and then the Form A and B update, our good old demolition by neglect, and the Coast Guard boathouse, and I think we have one administrative approval to review. So without further ado, why don't we jump right into the application. The hearing is application 25010, heard in accordance with Chapter 158 of the demolition delay bylaw, pursuant to its intent to fully demolish an historic building or structure at 53 Seaview Street. Okay. So let me just quickly, just to review for the public. There is a Form B on this property, which is a thing that we do relative to understand the historical significance of any of a particular property. In addition, just note, this is not in the National Register District and originally was not in the town survey done in 2015. So why don't you give us a quick overview of what you're intending to do with this structure? And introduce yourself, I'm sorry.
Good morning, Thomas Moore from Moore Home Design Company in Brewster. I also have Charles and Marcia Aarons, the owners of the property here at 53 Seaview Street, and we're requesting a demolition without delay for this project. Originally, we started this project as an addition renovation, which we were trying to create some more space up on the second floor, because the second floor has got low headroom and some issues there, and we were expanding out the back of the house. So, and then as we delved into the project and looked at what we were touching and changing, you know, the only really thing that was changing was, or staying, was basically the front wall of the building and the right side. Those were the only two walls that weren't being touched. And then we were looking at the locations of windows and so forth, and we were gonna even adjust a few of those too. So as we went through this, and one of the biggest things was lifting the house up and putting a poured concrete foundation underneath it, with the expansion out the back of the house. So it got to the point where there wasn't going to be much left of this building as we were going through this renovation. So we decided, along with the builder, that the best avenue for us to try would be a complete rebuild. And we are looking to rebuild the structure in the same style that it is
Well,
right now.
Before we get into what you're planning to do, other than demolish it, I think our process is we do one thing at a time. And the first thing is to determine whether we have a discussion here. And the discussion is whether or not we feel, or you feel, or give any evidence of the fact of whether or not this house is or is not historically significant. So, and that's an action that this commission takes. So the first thing we do is we discuss amongst ourselves and with the applicant, if you have any testimony to give relative to its historic significance. And then we make a determination within the commission, part one, is this property historically significant? If the property is historically significant, we then take further action. If we determine the property is not historically significant, then technically you can proceed. We do not technically have, I love that word, technically. We technically do not have design review responsibility, okay? What you're planning to do on the property is important to us, but this is not the zoning board nor the planning board, specifically the zoning board. The zoning board's going to determine what you build and how you build it, okay? So what we're going to address now with you, if you have any further discussion, is whether or not this property, 53 Seaview, and for the public, the property is approximately 95 years old, and it was bought pretty much around the 1930s. Do you have anything that you want to add relative to historical significance?
I really don't. I think I'd have to leave that up to you because,
Fine.
again, it's a 1930s house. Yeah,
That's fine.
I don't know
That's
the
fine.
history of the house other than the homeowners have owned this house before. But the actual structure itself, I will leave that up to you as far as how,
All right.
what you determine.
That's why we get paid the big bucks. Okay. All right. Okay, again, there is a Form B on the property, and hopefully each of the members have taken a look at it and read it. 1924, 1930s construction. Effectively, from a style perspective, it's a bungalow or craftsman-style house. I think when you read the form, those of us got a chuckle on the last page when they talk about in the 73 and 76, our dear friend and former chairman Donald Aikman lived there and probably bought the house for like $140,000 and then moved to the old village. And so that's, that's kind of where we are. The architectural description is very clear in terms of the elements that were there and the style of the house and whether or not the style of the house is maintained. Fortunately for us, the exterior of the property, which we have not jurisdiction, but that's our area of purview, there have been no changes, and the house is relatively, not significantly altered since it was built in the 30s, early 30s.
Yes, inside though.
Well, I'm obviously creeping up to being historically significant, but before I do that, we should go around the room. Let's start at this end. Robert?
Yes, I did take a look at the house with you yesterday, and I felt that it was definitely historical, significant. It has a classic craftsman style, and it fits the neighborhood. And one feature I always look for in a historic building is a chimney, and it does have a chimney. And the building seems to be in good shape and could be, with some alterations, I feel, kept, but it's definitely historical significant.
Okay, thank you. Bob?
I agree with RP. In addition to those factors, as the Form B says, it's a good example of a 1.5-story side gable bungalow. And also the prior occupants, of which obviously Mr. Aikman was one, but Francis Johnson, who has been a pillar of the community,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
is
I just realized that.
also a prior
Leslie's
owner.
Yeah.
So those two factors certainly qualify it for historical significance, and it's not
All right,
entirely objective factor, but it does qualify.
thank you. Jess?
I agree with what RP and Bob have said. I really have. It's a lovely, lovely home, and it's just historically significant in my opinion.
All right, Steph?
I agree with the whole thing, too. When I looked at the house, it really looked like it would, a historical house.
Sandy?
I absolutely agree with what's been said. It's historically significant.
Thank you. Robert?
Yes, I'll agree with all of my colleagues on this. This is an absolutely adorable house. Why you ever sold it in the first place, I don't know.
Oh, let's not go there.
There's some other things. I mean, George Washington didn't sleep here. The thing that is most noticeable about it is that walkway.
Sorry, could you say that again, Robert?
The walkway along Seaview, a lot of tourists and residents walk along there, and that's the representative part of Chatham. And my opinion is that if you rebuild it new, you're going to get exactly what you did. You're going to get a new house made to look old. So that would be my opinion. The old is the gold in this circumstance. You're already maxed out pretty much on your the amount of spacing because you have a low level in the back and you're kind of zero lot line on the left. So I think you have to consider what the ZBA might do if they follow the way they're currently going. With the, if you save it as a historical house, you qualify partially for the covenant, protective covenant that allows up to 125% on height and on setbacks. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to let you build it 25% higher. What it means is if you're a historical property, which is a good thing, it's about to be voted, you'll have significant more flexibility in what you do there. If you build new, you're in a different ballgame. So the old is the gold. I think you'll save some money if you lift it. I mean, that's our experience.
Thank you very much. Well said. I think that's an important comment. Were you aware of that zoning bylaw change?
I was not.
Yeah, this is important to us. I mean, you get a sense of what's going on here. And a number of years ago, we recognized the potential impact of a delay. It's not like zoning where we can't say no, or the HBDC say no, we can delay it. But even that, time is money, and we certainly realize that. But we had situations like this where a homeowner wanted to do something, okay? and they couldn't, okay? So it was simpler to tear it, quote, simpler, no question about it, tear it down, build a new one, okay? So what we did is, working with the Cape Cod Commission, we did a survey of the homes in Chatham which fall into certain categories. And we found out that although they're restricted by the land, you know, because of the size of the lot that you have in here, in other words, they really couldn't do what they want to do, okay? You're gonna have to go bigger, higher, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a bylaw amendment that was passed about 3 or 4 years ago, and I guess, I forget the exact title, but, go ahead,
It's our historic incentive bylaw.
say again?
Historic incentive bylaw.
Right, in other words, but a bylaw that if we determine a house is historically significant, and I think we're about to do that, you know, what we do is, when you go before zoning, okay, and your attorney will tell you with this bylaw is that, well, where we could have gone here, now we can go 5 or 10 feet that way, and we can go high. In other words, things that you're allowed to do to change the shape and the coverage of this property because we feel it's historically significant. Not necessarily to change the historic part of the house, but the addition, which you're planning to do anyway, okay? That it could be bigger and more volume with the bylaw, because we will stand up for it and say, nope, this house is historically significant. We want to save the streetscape. We want to save the front of the house, what Robert was talking about. And this bylaw, trust me, it was first time it's ever been done, I think, on the Cape. And I forget how much it is, what the percentage is. Say again?
I'm very familiar with it,
Okay.
having moved a property.
Yeah.
It's 125%, up to 125% leeway on easements and on height.
That's
Now,
pretty
that
good.
doesn't mean they're going to give it to you, but with the support of the commission, the ZBA will go, oh, gosh, we got to save this house. It's meaningful.
Yeah, and quite
And,
honestly, Robert, you know, you say they would give it to us, it's in the bylaw, and a good attorney will argue, wait a second, that's what the bylaw says, you can't deny it.
Yeah, it's there in black and white. Somewhere in my files, I have a
Yeah.
copy of it. But
Anyway.
that's a real gem. I'd really think twice about taking something special and turning it into something ordinary.
Okay, I think we, fortunately or unfortunately, it's the sense of the commission, and we're gonna take that vote. If it went the other way, we didn't allow you to proceed, you know, and I do appreciate the fact that you're attempting to save the streetscape. I'm sorry, looking at the owners who are here, not you. You're attempting to save the streetscape, but it still allows us to lose something. We're in a dilemma, you know, people will argue, well, it's not 200 years old, you know, Bill Nixon. Well, guess what? I'm 83, you know, guess what? It's aging, but, you know, what 50 years ago was not, now is 100 years more. So we're trying to help maintain a bit of that character in Chatham, and there's not many things we could do, but when we have a neighborhood like this, where there is a cluster of very nice historic homes, and, well, anyway, enough of speeching. All right, let's do the roll call. A motion, please, Bob?
I move the Chatham Historical Commission find that the building located at 53 Seaview Street is historically significant because it is in whole or in part 75 years old or more, and the commission also finds that it is associated with one or more persons of economic and social political history of the town, and it possesses architectural value or significance in terms of period and style.
Second?
Thank you. Any other comments? Members of the public wish to speak for or against the motion? All right. Bob?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Stephen? Robert Stevens?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Now, that's part one. Now, there's a second motion which we have to determine amongst ourselves is imposition of a demolition delay and how long. Now, let me just say this, and I'm glad the owners are here. Not that we don't like talking to the builders, okay? Is that this is what it is, a demolition delay. At any time, you could come back to us. You come back to us tomorrow, okay? It's not like we're the planning board or the zoning where you have to have radically new plans, you know. The door's always open. pick the phone, you tell Christina, we want to talk to you, we think we have a way to proceed, and we will revisit it, you know, and without a major, I don't even know if we need another hearing to revisit it. But we do need a hearing if we're going to eliminate the demolition delay. But the discussion is anytime to talk with us, and we'll proceed on that. Robert?
We need a number to fill in for that
Say again?
motion. We need a number to fill in for that
I
motion.
know, that's what I was looking to the high-paid guys on that side.
No, you're the boss, man.
Well, I think a minimum of, 12 months is probably a reasonable way to go. Our 18 months gets to be a little bit more punitive than we probably can be or should be, but I'm thinking 12 months.
Sure.
Okay, give it a
Yep.
shot.
Okay. The Chatham Historical Commission also finds proposed work to be done dated April 10th, 2025,
Yeah,
will
that's it.
materially diminish the historic significance of the building. Therefore, the commission imposes a demolition delay in the amount of 365 days.
Okay,
Second.
second, very much. Thank you very much, Janet. Any other comment, discussion? Any member of the public wish to speak for or against the motion? Okay. Bob Lear,
Yes.
Stephanie Hamilton?
Yes,
Sandy Porter,
Yes.
Janet Tennyson,
Yes.
Robert Stevens?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So, that's where we are. Again,
It's,
Can I ask a question?
absolutely.
And so if the decision was to renovate and remodel,
Yep.
yeah, would we have to come back here?
You still would come back, but it's a lot different, you know.
Okay.
I think what I can speak for the commission, you said something, I wrote it down, I gotta find my notes, when we were talking about the beginning of your process. There was, no, I can't find it. Oh, yeah, the
When you were-
process, when you went through the process, you talked about how, well, everything was gonna be in the back, and all that was saved was the front and the side. Well, guess what?
it's a lot.
That's pretty good, okay, for us.
Yeah.
Okay, we recognize what we call streetscape, you know.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it talks about.
Yeah.
The front, the side, I mean, you're limited on what you can do, and the back is the back.
Right.
Okay, that's up to zoning, okay? It's hard for us to make an argument when somebody comes in here, in a historic house, and they're putting a major addition on the house, and we say, we don't like the addition. Why? You can't see it, and quite honestly, 99% of your property, you can't see.
Right.
It goes down. So I think, in my opinion, I'm speaking for myself, I'm only one person here, I think we would be a lot more receptive to something like that, and it could be done very quickly, trust me.
Okay.
After you we can talk about the plans, but once you finalize the plans, I guess it's another application. Sorry, got to pay another $150. And,
As far as a renovation type of a project.
yeah,
Right.
and then we do it, but I'm not gonna, not just me, we're not gonna let you go through the whole thing and turn it down again. If you do something, in my opinion, which in discussion is reasonable, it should be all right.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very pleasure meeting you guys. Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh. Back to Ohio. Okay, thank you very much. All right, guys, that was good. We have some old business items. And the first one on the agenda is the Historical Commission response to ZBA comments on the West Chatham housing development. There was a meeting, I think, since our last meeting, the Penrose made a presentation to the ZBA. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, and. I'm sorry? I was looking for you. You were looking for me. I don't know where it was. But if any of you watched the meeting, it was not a pleasant situation. Most of the people who spoke had very similar comments. I think it's kind of interesting. The community seems to have a consensus here of what they want them to do. How it's going to play out, I don't know. Now, we have an obligation, because we've formally been asked. Every time the ZBA has an application in which there's some impact, the Historical Commission is generally asked to provide comments. Usually our comments are kind of, yeah, we looked at it, everything's fine, go ahead. In this case, everything's not fine. And as I was half serious, half kidding around with Annie's comments from our discussion at the last meeting, we seem to have a consensus amongst ourselves on certain key factors. I now have to write a formal report to the it's going to be a letter from Frank Messina as chairman of the Historical Commission to the ZBA. And they will get inputs from the Historical Commission, from the HBDC, from the planning, each of the boards and commissions in the town will then look at it. The process is one in which the ZBA at this point, in its so-called comprehensive permit, is acting as all the boards, but one time, one decision. And that's the reason why they use this 40B, because technically it prevents something from being dragged out in the court and stuff like that. So having said that, if you read the minutes and my previous comment, I did get your comments, and I appreciate the fact that you have. And I think what my job now is before, what's the date, June 5th? Before June 5th, I have to finalize a memo, I'll get it out to you, and if we're all in concurrence, then we'll submit that formally as our report. That's kind of it. I know I did get indication by Mr. Rick Levitt, who's actually an abutter of the property. He wanted to have a few comments, and I think Rick is out of town, and he's asked somebody else. Do we have some, George, Mr. Myers, you would like to say something?
Well, not really. I was here primarily to answer any questions about,
I'm sorry,
about Rick's proposal.
George?
Yes,
You're going to
Can
have
you hear
to
me?
get closer to your microphone or speak up.
He said he was,
answer any questions.
answer any questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Frank, I'm speaking about as loud as I can speak. Do you hear me?
Not well. Not
Can
well.
you hear me?
No, it's very hard to hear you.
Well,
Do you have any idea it's just his microphone?
is that better?
No, not really, George.
I've got it cranked up as high as it will go.
It sounds like your microphone is on, but I don't know if there's anything we could do on our end to increase the volume.
He said it's up as high as he can put it.
I'm sorry?
He said it's up as high as he can put it.
That's why I hate this online
Yeah.
stuff. It's just not working.
Well, I have my volume up as high as it will go, my output volume. I will say this.
I'm sorry. Hold on one second, George. Yes?
Could we ask Mr. Nicastro to speak, just to see if we can hear him?
Yeah, Dean, excuse me, Dean, Mr. Nicastro, could you just speak for a bit? Let's see if it's an RRN.
Yes, I was just going to, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm online, I'm logged on, and I can hear George very, very well.
It's not-
So I don't, can you hear me?
Yeah? Well, it's
Can't
Tin
hear
Air
me,
Frank
I guess.
Messina. I can hear
Something,
you, but I'll tell you, it's really not that good.
Wow. Because online, I can hear everybody. I can hear everything very well, including George Myers.
Yeah, unfortunately, on my end, it's not coming through loud, but George, we're
I
gonna have to
wonder- I-
proceed,
I
okay?
wonder if, Frank?
What, George?
Frank? Oh, it's Dean.
Yes,
I wonder if, I see Christina has a computer there. I wonder if she is able to do what I'm doing, and I assume you're logged on, Christina, and maybe you could hear any speaker through the mic, through the computer mic. Computer speaker, I'm sorry.
Let me just check with Mark, because I know sometimes that sends some feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mark is saying that I cannot do that.
all right. All right, George,
Yeah.
let me let me just proceed and then stand by. Okay, I did share with members of the committee, the commission, an email we got from Mr. Levitt dated May 14th, 2025, basically discussing his comments. All right, in all fairness, he does highlight some of the same issues that we're highlighting. The issue of density, the issue of industrial look, the issue of the lack of variation in design, unified design, making it too institutional looking, et cetera, et cetera. In addition, and maybe you could put it up, Annie? Why don't you put up the Primrose design? It's Exhibit B in his memo. The last one. I don't want to belabor this, but we'll go through it quickly.
It is the last one, yes.
Nope, keep going. Keep going, one more. It's a proposed, Penrose proposed site plan.
Yeah, I might have it. Hold on one moment.
You got it?
Well, I think we've all seen it, though. I mean, we've all seen it.
Hold on, folks.
Yeah, I just have to get back to the meeting. Hold on 1 second.
Well, for those of us, for the members of the public, okay, there you go. All right. No, that's it. Can you reduce it to get full screen? There you go. All right, stop. Bottom line at this time, the discussion is, this is the proposed plan, Penrose proposed site plan. And fortunately or unfortunately, it's basically the same one they presented us in January. And although there were indications that they were going to make changes, there were no significant changes in the style or the cluster of homes. So that's the design. Mr. Levitt, and I guess George are going to speak, has proposed two other designs. If you could go to either one of them.
Yes, let me start.
There are actually three, Frank.
Okay, three.
Do you have those, Amy? I have that.
I think there are two.
The ones you had first,
He
Annie.
had one, I believe he revised.
And I guess the point, And I'm gonna
There are
speak-
two revised site plans, two
of them, yes.
two number twos. I don't
Okay,
know. And
good.
then there's an Exhibit C and there's
You
an
can make that
Exhibit
full
B.
screen?
So,
And what I think Mr. Levitt is trying to do is he's trying to get them to get away from the back of the property from this perspective of that's where his house is and the fact that it's going to have such an impact upon the residential structures nearby. Not necessarily our area of expertise or germane to our discussion, but it is an option, okay? Now, if you could go to the other one. And maybe it's the same one, I don't know. Yeah, and then enlarge it. There you go. Okay, and that's this one here, and effectively what he's attempted to do in proposing that these structures be made smaller. In other words, you still have the same number of units, except you don't have three-story, 35-foot structures, and it's spread out a little bit differently.
He also has a one-way street.
And a one-way street, absolutely, which is kind of interesting, you know, you think about that from a traffic point of view, that the way Penrose designed it, it was a two-way street. And wider, yeah. So this makes it a one-way street, but these are things which hopefully the planning board and, the zoning board will consider. And I think, you know, I appreciate Mr. Levitt's comments and, you know, and we appreciate it. George, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Well, can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, I can kind of hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. The chances of that, the last one you showed of being acceptable to Penrose, they would probably contend that that is uneconomic because of the smaller buildings will require more walls, more foundations, so forth. So the claim of uneconomic might scuttle that kind of a design. The other design is probably more desirable because it maintains approximately the same number of buildings and the same number of units. And of course, as you said, Rick's desire was to get the large buildings away from the residential neighborhoods of Jesse's Landing and Barnhill Road. He is also interested in reducing the amount of pavement because the two-lane road is 24 feet wide with 18 feet of head-end parking plus 8 feet of parallel parking on the other side for a width of 50 feet for the pavement around the entire subdivision. So his proposal, the one that was shown second there, that had the parking lot in the middle, that has a one-way road and head-in parking. That may not work because you will need more than 12 feet of roadway for head-in parking. Generally, you'll probably need in the neighborhood of 20 to 24 feet. So one possibility is diagonal parking. But
Yeah.
of course, with diagonal parking, you have fewer spaces per curb length.
George,
So that's yeah.
you
Okay.
know, I appreciate your comments and your technical discussion relative to parking, but, you know, what we're really concerned about, you know, this board, is the issue of historic preservation, you know. And I do appreciate what you've done there. The question is, can you, and I think you spoke to it from the density and et cetera. We don't have any jurisdiction of parking or roadway and stuff like that. But, you know, more jurisdiction, or at least our comments from the Historical Commission related to style and character of the development and not parking. Can you add any more to that other than what you have in your memo that might help us?
Not really. Not
Okay.
really. Rick and I have not.
Yeah. No, I
dwelled too much
appreciate
on-
it. I appreciate where you're going, George, and,
Apparently, just I want to comment that apparently, George.
yeah, hold on.
Apparently, George, the admin building is not on here. And they have two of the units on the street.
Yeah, they eliminated the administration, but which is another issue.
That has a little bit of appeal to,
All right, you know,
it was
George,
institutional looking before.
right. George, we appreciate your helping us or giving your comments, and we'll go forward, and we'll let you know where we come to. All right? Thank you
All right,
very much.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, great. All right. All right, turn up the hearing aids. Let's go. Review and rules and regulations. Christina,
We should know more this week. We've been talking to.
Christmas is coming. We should know this week, get a ruling from the town council. And I'm going to kind of segue on this, because one of the key things, and I'm going to kind of jump, well, all right, we're going to come back to this. But I want to talk to you about this more in detail. The third item is the determination of eligibility of the Nickerson homestead. And long story short, we submitted the application on March 28th, 3/28. We're supposed to hear like in 30 days. We're going on 2 months. I made some calls 3 weeks ago and to Mr. Ed Bell, Ed is the State Historic Preservation Officer. He's the archaeologist who will actually make a decision on our eligibility. Unfortunately, he didn't get a call back, so persistence. I called again a couple of times and found out where the report was, and I found out whose desk it was sitting on, and the gentleman kind of apologized and promised me that we would get some kind of an answer within a week. So hopefully next week, we're going to get a response. In my conversations with Holly Herbster, that she really feels this is going to be positive, but we still need a response from Mass Historic. That's that. The third item is Eric Dre and the update of the survey plan to revise Form As and Form Bs. And I'd like to connect that back to the issue of, of the issue of historical significance decision. What I wanted to just spend a comment, and I got, new member of the commission, Robert, Robert, I don't know if you're aware, our survey plan, all of the Form Bs, in addition to being online, which you could get on Mass Historic, okay, what this commission did in 2013, 14, and 15 is we undertook a survey of the complete town, okay? And this book exists. So the point I'm trying to make it is when an application comes in and, 53 Seaview Street, what is 53 Seaview? Where is it? One of the first things Christina does is she goes to the Bible, if you will. And in this book, it will tell her, yes, there is a Form B. Well, she actually goes and gets a Form B. But this tells you there is a Form B, which means we did it. And because this document, which Eric did for us, is done or completed, medium, low, or no. In other words, we categorized every home in Chatham 50 years or over in that category. So we know where every home of Chatham is and whether or not we have done a Form B, because some of the Form Bs were done way before 2015. They're not so good, and they require a lot of update. Other ones, Eric has put in well, it's okay, but it's medium, because the issue is how much money do we have? We can't do Form B on every house. We can't afford that. And we're proceeding as we had funding. So again, it's done, medium, low, and no, it's not worth it. And this is a good example, 53 Seaview, because originally it wasn't done. It was not on the high list. I think it was on the medium list. In other words, it's like, it wasn't high priority, but it was medium priority. But then we had some money, so, and Eric, if you look at the Form B, which we just did, sorry, I feel like I'm giving a lecture here. And I think Eric actually completed that Form B in 2016. In other words, it was a Form B that was done, after the original high. So I guess what the point I'm trying to make is this is an important document. We do have it. The commission should be congratulated years ago for undertaking it. And that's what we're trying to do here with good old funding with the town to proceed to update the Form Bs. And all I got to say is we're waiting. Hopefully in another week or so, we're going to know. And quite honestly, the funding request is tied in with something else. But I feel very confident that within a week or two, we're going to get that resolved, and then we will proceed with Christina and Eric to the process of updating Form Bs. And I just thought it was worthwhile.
Could I ask a question?
Say again?
Could I ask a question?
Surely.
When you say update the Form B, does that mean go to each particular page and look at that building again? Or does that mean change what's on the form?
Eric Dre gave us a recommendation, okay? I don't remember which was, but he gave us a recommendation so long ago. And this commission reviewed that recommendation, and we gave him a priority. Do you remember what it was, Kristen? Go.
I do, yeah. So instead of updating old Form Bs, he's going to look at new properties that did not receive any Form Bs.
Well, it has to do with the properties and not the format of the form.
Correct. That format may change, because MHC does have their own guidelines. I'm not sure if it has changed since 2015 or not.
Okay.
But he will be looking at the properties that do not have Form Bs first, and then he will be updating older Form Bs, because there was some done in the 70s, some done in the 90s, and then when this was done.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm sneaking up to something. What I'm sneaking up to is something else we have on our agenda for something to deal with, and that's the issue of the decision of historical significance. What some towns do, when an application comes in, every application doesn't automatically go to the commission. They have either a paid consultant or they have a preservationist on staff. And they make the decision up front whether or not the house is historically significant. And we have this administrative review process, which is working pretty well. But when the question is not whether or not they should put 3 or 4 windows on, but the question is the house historically significant? What Christina is forced to do, and we're forced to do, is, well, you gotta come before the full commission. You've been here. We'll get a house, we go, it's obvious, this house is not historically significant. But it's 75 years old and it meets the requirement. So we forced people to come in. And what I'm trying to do is think about, I don't have the answer yet, trust me, I'm walking across the water and looking for the rocks, let's try to get there. How we could potentially find a way to make it easier for the public and easier for ourselves on homes which are obviously not historically significant. How do we make that? How do we get staff to make that decision and for us to still be confident that we've made the right decision? Anyway, we're working on it. Okay. Last but not least, demolition by neglect. Guess what? Had a long conversation with staff today, and they promised me they're gonna be paying attention to it in the next couple of weeks, so I will stay on top of that with Christina's assistance. And what I'm looking for here, guys, is we did a lot of the legwork, and, Stephanie, you did a lot of work in preparing for it. They've got all this data. We need them professionally to take a look at it and come back with a recommendation. And the comment I had with staff this morning was that I know it's like grabbing a grease pig. It's not gonna be perfect, okay? In other words, we can't protect every home in Chatham from demolition by neglect. But at least, my favorite expression, we want to get our nose under the tent. We want to start. We want to protect maybe the more historic homes, et cetera, et cetera. So I think she understands, or staff understands to be proper, and we're going to take it from there. It's like everything else, you guys. You got to keep pressing. I think we have an administrative approval.
Yes, 14 Ivy Lane was reviewed by Nancy and me. The issue is a sun porch that's there that at some point in time changed from a number of small paned windows to 9, I think, large picture windows. And they wanted to replace those picture windows with different picture windows. And our issue was sort of what should be preserved, what's there now or what was there when that house was approved to be in the National Register. And the owner was nice enough to say, well, we can deal with those small paned windows, at least in part of the package. So Nancy and I had agreed that that was acceptable, and that's what we'd like the commission to ratify.
Okay.
Frank, who's the owner of the house?
I'm sorry?
Who's the owner of the house?
O'Brien, Thayer and Joe O'Brien.
Any other questions? Okay, get a motion, please.
I move that the commission ratify the recommendation by the 2 commissioners to approve the change that has been filed by the owner.
I'll second that.
Second. Any other comments? Members of the public wish to speak on the application, the motion? None? Bob?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert Stevens?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you. There's no real change in the demolition delay. Annie, could you put this up? But I wanted to speak just one last thing. I apologize, we'll still make this under an hour. There's a group in town called Historic Chatham. What this group is, it was formed right during and right after the Chatham's tercentennial in 2012. And there was really a large group of us who were involved, the Historical Commission, Don Aikman, and the HBDC, the ZBA, but people involved with historic preservation, specifically the HBDC. And what we decided is that, well, we got all these great people together working on Chatham's history, and it would be a shame after the tercentennial that we go away. So the individual groups, the Atwood, the Marconi, the Coast Guard Building, the Kelb Nickerson, the Godfrey Windmill, the library, Eldridge Library, which is on the National Register, the Chatham Railroad, Monomoy National Refuge, which their lighthouse is on the National Register, and the Mayo House. So we have this group called Historic Chatham. And over the last 10 years so, we've been having a history weekend where we would all get together and do a certain kind of celebration. We decided, and I'm beginning to regret it, that we should do History Month. And there's a plethora of activities that are going to occur during the month of June. I don't want to bore you with everything that's happening, but if you go to the website, historic-chatham.org, or that QR code, which you have, I think you were given copies of this, you will get the website, and you'll see there's just literally, must be good 50 or maybe 75 activities. The windmill, we're going to hopefully be grinding corn on June 21st. The Atwood is open, the Marconi is open. The Coast Guard is going to be, the auxiliary is going to be actually running tours of the lighthouse. The Eldridge Public Library has a number of great programs. The South Chatham Village Library is celebrating its 150th anniversary. The River Museum is always great, especially if you've got grandchildren around 5 or 6 years old. And Monomoy Wildlife Refuge, unfortunately, is not having too much because, as we know, they've lost their director, and the government now has cut back severely, so I'm not sure what's happening, but they're still with us. And last but not least, the Mayo and the Conservation Commission, Mayo House, is having some open houses. That's enough of that commercial. Hopefully you'll get a chance to enjoy it. I hate to say it, guys, but I'm done. Anything else?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Oh, excuse me, a member of the public, Dean, Mr. Nicastro, I apologize. Would you like to add anything to our meeting?
No, I do not have anything.
No.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on your chairmanship.
Yes.
Or condolences.
Condolences is the better word. Thank you.
Yeah, quite, well, thank you very much. Okay, I had a motion, second, was there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Bob?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert Stevens?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Thank you very much, guys.